Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Irene and I'm here with Jane Bofsky, and today we're going to talk about travel time. So on travel time, what I wanted to discuss first from the legal side is some examples that I've seen and heard of in the last, really even the last few months that have come up, but have been continuous over a number of years. And most recently, I've had a question of, well, do I have to compensate travel time if I provide my employee with a company car and they leave from their house? Since it's technically a company car, do they start getting paid if they're an hourly employee from the moment that they get into the company car? Is it because it's considered company property? And it's a very difficult question to answer as a very general question, because you have to understand, well, what is being done while you're in the car? How much work is actually being done? Also, did the employee have to travel to get to the car? So they might be given a car, but it might be then parked in a certain lot that's also compensated by the employer. Did the employee actually have to travel to get to the car first? And that could definitely change our answer. Also, what industry are we talking about? This happened to actually be in a real estate development construction industry. And so it was very interesting because there were tools that were in the car. That was entirely different than anything we've ever seen, where, for example, someone is in sales, because once there's tools in the car, we have certainly already received different responses in some past cases and how our courts have interpreted that. But what I'd like to do now is I'd definitely like to ask Jane, on your end, how do you account for that travel time on your side?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Irene. So for travel time, time spent traveling during normal work hours is considered compensable work time. So how do you calculate your travel time pay? So basically, you count the number of hours you spent traveling, determine if those hours were regular hours or overtime, and then multiply that by applicable pay rate. So the employee must be paid for any time he or she is performing work. This includes time spent working during travel as a passenger that would otherwise be non-compensable. So if an employee is spending if the employee is traveling as part of their principal activity, such as travel from one job site to another job site, this is considered work time and they have to be paid. This is how we look at it, right? Irene mentioned a few examples of different industries, but for our purposes, we know what is travel time, what is part of work time, and what is not. So a lot of times I would kind of go back to Irene and ask her to help determine what is considered more right in each situation, right? But I'm just right now speaking generally. So we don't actually tell our clients that any of the travel time to work is something they need to pay for. So as soon as they enter the establishment, right, their place of work, this is when we start paying. So if the employee is spending time traveling for work-related activities, so we consider that paid travel time. If the employee is kind of just commuting, traveling from between home and work, this is not something that's considered travel time. So if an employee is using a car, they need to be reimbursed by that car. And I'm kind of going to jump in a little bit about the car deductions. So we actually could claim quite a few deductions for car expenses. So if a business has a car, they could deduct it as a business car expense. So we could deduct such things like depreciation, we could do interest on the car loan, we could deduct gas and maintenance. And then we also have two choices of deducting expenses related to cars. So one is using a mileage deduction. So for the year of 2022, we could claim 0.585 for the first 6 months of 2022 and 0.625 for the last 6 months of 2022 for each mile driven for business purposes. Or the other option is to tally up all the actual receipts that you've spent for the year, which is obviously more detailed. But basically, we could go both of these routes. But we do have a lot of deductions that are related to the car. So I hope I answered the question about the travel time and the business card deductions. And there's, quite a lot of things that we could discuss for each specific situation. So if you do have questions, please reach out to us. Thank you, everyone.